We're back to Neil Haley show, and you know what? The real life Jerry Maguire's here. I just can't believe it. I'm excited to welcome sports agent Sean Stellato. Sean, thanks for stopping by. You have a tremendous honor of entering the National Italian American Sports Hall of Fame. But we're going to get into how you became a sports agent. How are you, Sean?
I'm fantastic, Neil. Thanks for having me. Blessed. I always say too blessed to be stressed.
All right, so let's just jump right into this, Sean. Specifically, why did you want to become a sports agent? Was this always a dream of yours growing up?
I'll be honest with you, Neil. If I could still be playing football, I would. Played 20 years, played Division I football and basketball, played 3 years in the pros, and I just love the game. And I had a couple agents I hired and fired. So being able to vicariously live through some of my guys, I would say is cool, but I have a passion for the game of football, Neil. It's been a huge part of my life. It's brought me places I never would have went to before.
So let's go right to it, Sean. Football. Like, how did you make the pros? How did that process go?
Yeah, my dad at 6 years old gave me a football and he said, "Hey, you're not going to be the biggest kid. You're not going to be the fastest kid. This is football. This has got to be your compass." I didn't, hit the ovarian lottery. We were humble beginnings, 8 of us, 3-bedroom house. And I just really used my tenacity, my approach, my goal setting. I had role models. My mom and dad worked tremendously hard. Grandparents came over on the boat from Italy. And I knew my opportunity was going to be through sports. And I try to leverage that. I'm 5'9". I'm not 6'10" like yourself, but I took that 5'9" and played like I was 6'4", and had some great coaches along the way, great teammates, but just knew that, it would be a big part of my life, and really use the platform of sport. Because let's face it, it's a language everyone understands. And it's definitely put me in a different type of bucket, and I've been able to enjoy the journey through sport.
Let's talk about college football. Where did you play college football?
So I played at Marist. It's a Jesuit school, small Division I on the Hudson. Had an offer to University of Richmond. Mom doesn't fly. I grew up in Salem, Massachusetts. So it was either, to her and I know my parents, they would literally go to China if I was playing, and they would go the boat and take the train all the way through Europe. They did it with arena football. So played football and basketball there. Had a solid career and great memories playing at Marist.
All right, so I want to kind of go more deeper into this, specifically playing at Marist, a free agent.
I played arena football. So
Arena.
Yep. So my last college season, we played Florida Atlantic 10 days after 9/11 down in Florida. And, I had a solid year, and I had opportunities to go play arena football afterwards. And I gave it really, technically I had a 3-year gap, but I gave, my wife at the time, I said, "Hey, I want 2 years to try to get to the NFL." And I came up a little short. But look I got paid to play football. My old arena coach is the head coach of Louisville, Jeff Brom. It was the owner of our team was Will Wolford, the blind side, 4 Super Bowls with the Buffalo Bills. So everything, Neil, was the same except the dollars at the end of the paychecks.
Okay, so
like zeros at
the
the end.
experience of just saying you're going to go for it, because not everyone even plays arena football. There's a big tryout and stuff, right? It's not easy to get in, right?
Oh, it is. And I always kind of compared arena ball to like double AAA baseball. No, there's a lot of my teammates were on and off NFL rosters. And it is, and a lot of coaches played, John Forcade played with the Saints, Jeff Brom, he played, who Jeff played with, he was with the 49ers, backed up Steve Young. So there's a serious pedigree, and let's face it, arena ball, you're like a ping pong in a football. Kurt Warner, the face of arena football. So there's definitely David Patton won a ring with the Patriots, God rest his soul, the late David Patton. But it was definitely a great opportunity, good springboard. And the thing I liked about arena ball was the intimate relationship with the fans, because you were right on top of each other.
Absolutely. And so when you played arena ball, did you like that whole thing? Because in college you have crowds, but now you have really fans that are like really, they're coming to see you play. It's got to be cool, right?
It was cool. I was always the last one to leave the field. Afterwards, they'd let the fans on, signing autographs. I did a really cool experience at St. Jude's. My late coach, Danton Bartow, brought us by there, and we had a day at St. Jude's, and it was just it was a changing moment for me in terms of what these kids were going through. And I made it my lifelong passion. One of the prerequisites of being a sports agent and bringing a guy on is they got to have a civic and a philanthropy, but part of them too, because I think that goes with the title of professional athlete and giving back.
All right, so let's talk about, did you always have that mindset then after football was over to be a
Yeah.
sports agent?
You know what? It's funny. So I had a chance to be a GA that I flirted with, and I knew I wanted to marry my college sweetheart and wanted to have kids. And I said, you know what? Is it going to be fair if I'm coaching in Idaho and next thing you know, we're fired? I got to move to Arkansas. So I said, you know what? I'm going to put my hat in the ring, and competitive industry. There's look at 7.9 billion people on the planet, give or take. There's 1,696, give or take, active NFL football players. There's over 800 agents. Not a lot of, bait, not a lot of fish in the sea. So I knew I loved the game that much. I love autonomy too, and I wanted to build it my way, brick by brick. And to answer your question, I saw the movie Jerry Maguire my senior year of high school, and I said, you know what, this is a pretty cool job. And I can do this. I know I can, but I'll tell you, the early years were very challenging. But my own company, I just celebrated 10 years, been in the game 18. So we're making way, I'm doing it and I'm passionate. I'm helping, mold these young men as well.
So how did you go out and say, I'm the agent for you? Okay. Because, you look at Jerry Maguire, you look at Ballers. Ballers a little different, but it did show really a lot of the sports agent process as well in Ballers. And you see these things. It's all about building a relationship and saying you're really looking out for that person, right?
Yeah, and everyone asked me, "Do you watch Balls?" I'm like, I know I don't. They're actors. It's not what I go through is 50 times more challenging. No disrespect. They're actors. They're good at what they do. But in terms of if they had a bird's eye view of how I go about it, it's completely unorthodox. But yes, it is a relationship-based business. And let's face it, the average lifespan of an NFL player is only 3.3 years. So, in terms of monetizing contract value and branding them, I mean, it all goes kind of together. But a lot of these guys, early on, they think it's forever. It's really a heartbeat. These guys, when they retire, I believe it's like 8.2% of the NFL is over 30 years old. So you don't, it's a young man's game, and it's about getting to the second and third contract, because the first contract, unless you go the first round, the second round's first 2 years are fully guaranteed, and then that guarantee component drastically changes, Neil.
How did you make yourself out of the box and really well known? Because you said a lot of sports agents, right? So
yeah, making myself well known, I think I might be the only agent that'll go in with a fedora on. So I had to create my own identity. I get knocked here and there for it, but it's all good fun. I think just, really creating a niche, like any, whether it's Google or whether it's, the New England Patriots, everyone has their own secret sauce. So I think really just, being passionate, and I'm a pretty good evaluator of talent as well. I think that's important, because let's face it, just because you go out there and you score 20 touchdowns in college and, run for 1,500 yards doesn't mean that's going to equate to success in the National Football League. Teams spend millions of dollars evaluating players, but let's face it, Neil, you're an athlete. A lot of good players fall through the cracks. So, I've got guys, on my roster from guys that in 9 years in the NFL that, were unemployed their first 2 years out of college to, draft picks to all pros. So they definitely range in terms of where they came from, and it makes their story pretty unique.
So how challenging is the prospecting process, and then people now jumping in as a sports agent to find that person and say, I'm going to represent them?
Yeah, it's very, very cutthroat, very challenging. Definitely, I don't try to deter anybody, young, person from getting in to be a sports agent, but the game's changed drastically. You obviously got to compete against, there's a lot of things that go on in the industry. My old arena coach used to always say, if you're not cheating, you're not trying. But the fact of the matter is, I don't, I'm ethically, I know I can look myself in the mirror. I have 5 mouths to feed. So, everything's above board. But, I guess too, Neil, everyone's wired differently. You're going to sit in front of a young man, his goals, his desires, his passions, what he wants might be different than yours. And I think that, through time and through that relationship, you get to see, and, either you're going to grow and evolve with a player, or, it's going to be a non-reciprocal or, relationship, which I don't think will flourish.
It's all about the results, right?
Yes, it is.
Results. Because,
Talking cheap.
if you're the first person you rep, if they're not getting deals, that next person's not signing with you. Am I right?
Without a doubt, it's a results-oriented business. And if you're not, getting it done for them, yeah, you're sleeping with one eye open. You're in a shark tank. But in terms of if you get it done and you know what you've got the human capital, the knowledge, skills, and ability, you have the relationships, you can make things happen. And that's really the secret to my success, is just going out there, being proactive, and just having a lot of passion for what I do.
So a sports agent first gets the contract, but that's not as big as getting the endorsement deals, right? And looking at maybe they have a foundation, or making sure that they're really well known in the community with different opportunities, so that life after football is there too, right? There's so many more roles than people think than just getting the contract.
Yeah, multiple layers. You have obviously the contract, then you have the whole marketing, endorsement side of things. Then you got the civic work, giving back, all that goodwill. I think that carries I don't know, really, if you try to quantify what is that value, all those intangibles. So that goes, I think, hand in hand. So there's multiple layers with that. And yeah, I mean, there's other ways to monetize. Look at the NIL, is changing up the game a little bit, name, image, and likeness, as we talked about a little bit prior to the kickoff of this. But I think in terms of invisibility, getting out there in the community is important. Like I said, letting people know, because let's face it, basketball, your game, it was my game too. I played D1 hoop too, but let's face it, football, you're wearing a helmet, you're shielded. So a lot of times your fans, people can't really see the human element under the mask. And I think that's important to go out there, because, your jersey is going to sell a little bit more. Your social currency is going to increase a little bit more, and your book could potentially be a bestseller someday, right?
So all those different things. So tell us who some of the people you rep, and then we're going to jump right into the honor of this Hall of Fame, because I was just reading the press release, and it's a tremendous honor you probably never thought you would ever imagine getting. But I want to know some of the people you're repping.
Yeah, Chris Manhurt, starting tight end for the Denver Broncos. Great player. He's in year 8. Probably one of the best blocking football players in the tight ends in the National Football League. What's unique about Chris, Neil, his first time playing football in his life was in the NFL. He was a Division I hooper. Yeah, so very interesting. Andrew DePaul, all pro with the Vikings. Who else we got? Tommy DeVito's getting his first start. No relationship to Joe Pesci on Goodfellas. He's starting for the Giants Sunday night against the Cowboys. So Sunday afternoon. So we're excited about that. And then I got some journeyman guys that get their uniforms dirty, and are talented football players. Might not be high profile guys, but they're all pros in my eyes. And, they're obviously, there's only 1,696 jobs. So they're doing a lot of great things on the football field, and increasing their value weekly.
Let's talk about the NIL. Just your take on this. Do you have any at stake in that? Are you working with anybody on that end? Or
I know. Great question, Neil. The NIL, I do work with a couple guys, young men. In terms of, let's face it, it's definitely changing it up. It's very ambiguous with regards state to state. But in terms of, if you go out there and you play at a high level, your market is going to be a lot higher than a guy that doesn't really go out there and make as many plays as you are. You see the quarterbacks, quarterback last year for Clemson, he had like $1 million, I think, Bojangles deal. I mean, I'm sure, I just don't know how your offensive linemen feel about that, if it creates animosity, if it divides locker rooms. But the collectives, in terms of the portal, guys are moving around a lot. So that's a recruiting tool for a lot of guys too. But I mean, do I feel that guys should be paid? I mean, if the NCAA is monetizing off of them, and there's a lot of tickets being sold, I think it's just fair. But I think it's very ambiguous. I wish it was a little clearer on some things. But I'm sure through time it's going to get tighter. It's going to get more polished, and guys are going to get even bigger deals.
There's not a lot on the internet about this either. Really,
No.
It's not. It's like a best kept secret, and a lot of people that couldn't be like you as a sports agent for professionals the NIL gives an opportunity for people that really don't have that background. I don't know if that's good or bad or what's going to happen in the overall thing. And then when you're recruiting new people in that maybe had someone that was representing them for the NIL, it's more about, hey, did they really get treated well? Because the thing is, I'm seeing a change in college football, and the fact that schools that are winning are the ones that have the best boosters, have the best situation. It was almost the same, but now if you look at the rankings, you're really seeing the bigger schools are just dominating, almost like what Major League Baseball. Have you noticed that? I see that change. I don't know if we're going to see that in college basketball.
It's a great point you bring up, and I think you hit it right on the head. So I think in terms of, look at what Deion Sanders is doing at Colorado. I know he probably wants a few more wins, but I mean he's going to get bigger recruits, and he's really, he's a recruiting. He's prime time, man. He played the game like no one else, and now he's in his space as a coach, and probably a lot of players' dream come true to play for someone like that. He truly cares, and he's gonna be able to leverage a lot of things for these kids and change a lot of lives. It's gonna be exciting over the next couple of years.
What's crazy is I'm talking so much more sports now, thanks to the actor strike where I can't interview actors. So it's go figure, my celebrity. It's all athletes all the time. NFL, it's my big thing the last month and a half. Go figure. Let's talk about this whole honor. I mean, reading the press release and hearing the likes who are part of the National Italian American Sports Hall of Fame, the icons, Joe Montana, Vince Lombardi, Joe DiMaggio, Mario Andretti, and all these, and Dan Marino. It's to be with those likes, man, you never dreamed that was going to happen, right? Playing sports.
No, it's crazy because you play sports. Obviously, some guys are talented in other areas, and God obviously blessed me with a huge heart, big time work ethic, and just a tremendous amount of passion. But being Italian, that was always the root of all dreams for us, was family. And to stand on the shoulders of those names, it's surreal. I mean, I got the call, I cried like a baby. Reading the letter to my dad. My dad's my hero. He's taught me so much. Lost his dad to leukemia at 18. It was just like, wow. And then my kids, I got daughters. I'm a girl dad, so letting them able to see like, hey, man, you work hard, like, and it just really validates what I preach to them is, actions speak louder than words, and family. And they're all amazing in their own right. But in my ancestors, being able to preserve the legacies of those who came over on the boat with nothing, third class, the lowest means of travel, and they're preached what they were all about, work ethic and the core values they brought over the Atlantic. And I'm just blessed, fortunate, and I'm so grateful. I have so much gratitude in my heart for my heritage. Obviously, we're going to celebrate, that night, but it's, I'm an underdog. That's what I really am. And to be able to get this honor is pretty special, but this is more, it's not me just accepting the honor. It really takes a village. And I've had a couple amazing coaches. My oldest brother was my first coach. He's 12, 13 years older. I had a prep school coach, Hugh Caldera, and I had an opportunity to go to boarding school for a year when my life wasn't looking too good. And I got a full scholarship, and the owners of the Giants went there, and that changed the trajectory of everything. It made me a lifelong learner. And it so happens to be the coach, Coach Caldera, being Paisan. He took a liking to me, and he gave me the ball. And I'll tell you, he gave me an opportunity, Bill, if it wasn't for that year. And then, like I said, I turned a lot into a mile, but football is the ultimate team sport, and representing guys, I'm only as good as my players. I got to deliver for them, and I take pride in doing that.
Well, I'm proud of you. This is amazing. Again, when is the movie coming out? Your story. We'll wait for that to happen.
Movie
you have
script.
you have books too. You have a book.
Yeah,
books too, right? Yeah,
I
tell
do.
us about the books.
Yeah. So No Backing Down is kind of like excuse me, it's like a Friday Night Lights meets a team of Rudies. The writer of Rudy wrote the first draft. The writer of Age of Adeline rewrote it. The movie script is done. You mentioned about the actors striking, and so it's been quiet out there. So I'm holding it patiently, and when the time's right, we're going to get it out. Book is in the Pro Football Hall of Fame's library. It's in the New England Patriots Hall of Fame. So it's kind of cool there, but that's my passion project. And just like it's Salem, Mass, the witches, there was a major teacher strike. I played with some great guys. I'm preserving the legacies of my teammates. I was the quarterback. My grandmother was dying. And I'll challenge any movie out there, Bill, that has characters this colorful, divine intervention, personal tragedies, miraculous wins. And then my daughter, Gianna, she suffers from juvenile arthritis. We were going to Boston Children's and she was blown up joints and knees. And I said, Gianna, what can we do to start a movement? She said, Daddy, let's write a children's book. So we wrote the Football Magic series, and it was very therapeutic for us, and it's a great message, but really used as a tutorial to educate families on autoimmune diseases in children. And then my other daughter, Sophia, who's a level 10 gymnast, she suffers from celiac disease, and we wrote a picture book. And one of the main characters is an Italian grandma, and it takes place in Salem, but it's a beautiful story. So we've got a few different options for the readers. But there wasn't a lot of things I read as a kid that really resonated with me. So putting that out there, and I do a lot of speaking engagements. It's just, I'm very fortunate and blessed to be in that situation to help kids and do it with my kids.
All right. Do you have a podcast? That's the next thing. You seem like you have a skill set to have your own podcast.
You know what? We did a little podcasting during COVID, and I definitely would like to take it back. But it was good. I had some good characters on there, and I have utmost respect for people like yourself that's got that talent. And it's great bringing, like-minded people that making, changing the game in their space and hearing the narrative. It's pretty cool. So, but yeah, and
it's in the mood. It's in the works. There's tons of things in the works. So many projects, so much of a legacy. Best place people can connect with you. Where can they go?
Yeah, if they go to SeanStellato.com, or you can find me on Instagram at Sean, SEAN, Stellato, STELLATO, SES, or Twitter's just Sean Stellato. And I try to put good content out there. They say a pictures tell 1,000 words. So we got some cool stuff that we put out. But I love, obviously meeting people. And my big thing, Bill, making people feel good, whether it's a book, whether it's the word of advice, whether it's some inspiration. I'm passionate about boxing. My late uncle, Frankie Stellato, he was a pro boxer, went to the Olympic trials. So hopefully maybe in the future, there'll be a charity 3-round boxing, match. I can call out another agent and we can have a little Rocky Balboa. But no, all good. But yeah, it's been a fun run. A lot of mountains still to climb, and I'm just fortunate. I'm looking forward to the rest of the season. I got a client playing tonight for the Panthers in the Windy City. We'll see. Hopefully he can go make some noise.
All right. Thanks, Sean. Appreciate it, sir.
Yeah. Thank you so much. All the best.
You're listening and watching the Neil Haley Show, and we'll be back in just a moment.